rallying around the understanding for a need for self-determination, like that movement to say we don't want another culture imposed on us, another structure, another power structure or colonial structure that determines how we do things. And really this practice asks us the same question, which is, what does self-determination mean to us? What is that movement, and how do we understand when that's not taking place, and why? And that calling from our hearts for self-determination, we could say, is also what brings us here. We can talk about liberation, but sometimes it's such a wide, vast labeling of so many different things. Well, as is self-determination, but I love self-determination because of those two words. And I think about it because today is the last full day of our retreat, and so things are changing. And I'm wondering how that is for you. And if in the thought of this being the last day, if there's some movement of, well, okay, now I can relax. Now, now it's already changing, so I don't need to make so much effort. Or the thought, well, this is it. We've had a formal structure, we've had silence, and now things are beginning to change. We're having all these groups and meetings. So then my efforts in a way don't count. Not that we're saying it exactly in that way, but somehow because of the change, that somehow detracts from our capacity for self-determination. And that's been true so much in terms of COVID, in both ways. For some of us, and definitely for some of us in our online community, COVID has been amazing, because suddenly there's all this access of teachings being online with sanghas that never happened before. And then on the other, it's like that huge change brought in, and we know this, such despair and doubt. Like the change was interpreted as, I don't have self-determination in here, in some kind of way. In some kind of way. So it's not only when a change happens, but also when that change is something that we don't want. So naming that. And how is self-determination in that context when we're aiming not to react, but to respond? And really that's what all these teachings have been about, right? They're like, yeah, we can react, but how does that feel? We're caught in a power structure, an internal power structure of reactivity that doesn't sustain and call in respect and caring. And so we talk about this practice as so precious because it's giving us the tools to find a different way than reacting. And that different way we've named in all, many of our Dhamma talks and in our chanting and in taking the refuge, is based on the capacity to respond differently. So we used the traditional definition of mindfulness as not being like a cork bobbing on the ocean, dependent on the direction of the wind as to where it's going. That is being conditioned. And so much of our life is being conditioned, right? And we know there's no freedom in that. Because we're being like a cork bobbing according to the forces of society, friends, our own bodies, our thoughts. We are like that cork. And so we are also being called, because of the experience of that stress, of the lack of self-determination, to inquire into, well, what is self-determination? And then we've named over and over again that the leader for all the beautiful qualities to move into self-determination is the energy of mindfulness. That we say over and over and over again. And when we talk about mindfulness, we're talking about mindfulness and all the other beautiful qualities it brings, particularly caring. Or we could say the form of caring that includes respect. I am calling in a different relationship in this deconditioning process of reactivity. So mindfulness. And then there's effort. And out of interest, I looked up this morning, I looked up in terms of effort that Olympic athletes, and Michael Phelps came up first, practice 3 to 6 hours in the water every day and 4 to 5 hours on land. And then other Olympic examples were at 8 a.m. you run 6 miles, at 10 a.m. you swim 4,200 meters, and then at 3 p.m. you bike for 2 hours. A violinist in a major orchestra practices 20 hours a week or 4 to 5 hours a day. And I was thinking about that because that is like a lot of self-determination. Like if you want to strengthen something because you love it, what incredible effort and dedication. And that is normalized in this culture for perfecting something. What would it take for us to lift up our own liberation in the same way? And you know, and I wonder about what the mechanism, this is a question. What's the mechanism whereby a violinist or an athlete could go through cramping and being cold, or like pulling a muscle, or like just not wanting to get up in the morning and do another day's practice, or like all those things, right? What is it? What are the conditions that support that commitment? And why is it that that's much more difficult for us? It's just a question. And it's something for me, and I don't know for you, so it's what it would be, but for me, it's like some expectation that if I wanted to be a very famous violinist, that's what it would require. That's the norm. It's normalized. That's what happens in the culture of music and musicians. But for practice, for myself and my own mind and heart, that feels like too much. Like, I expect it and want it to be easier, and I think it should be easier. And I think it should be easier based on that I think I should be in a different place where I shouldn't need to do as much work. And I don't know if this is where your thoughts might go, but where my thoughts go is that we live in a consumer culture, that the whole economy is based on consumerism, and that is buy what makes things easy, do what makes things easy. Like, let's do standardized tests because that's easy. And I know teachers have an incredibly difficult job. It's not teachers saying that. Except, so there's this sort of this schizophrenia in our culture about like this incredible practice for excellence in one way, or not excellence, but really working something to beauty. And then another, which is, no, I don't want to wash by hand. I want a washing machine. I do. And I don't want to have to go on my hands and knees to wipe up the floor. I want a vacuum cleaner. And certainly the older I get, it's sometimes easier not to haul around the heavy vacuum and to actually go on my hands and knees. But that is the orientation. That's the conditioning. But when the Buddha said, if we practiced non-stop for 7 days, he was talking about the continuity of practice every moment of every day. He was acknowledging that actually it is a supreme effort, self-determination. And yesterday I talked a little bit about what was going on in South Africa and the movement towards structural change there and the ending of apartheid. That was a supreme effort. Of all those directly involved in the movement, it was a supreme effort to survive. And that might be true for us as well. Just sometimes to survive is a supreme effort. And we think there's something wrong when that's what has to happen. So as some of us continue and as some of us go home, I think these are really important questions to hold in our hearts. What does self-determination mean? And the Buddha is so explicit that it takes a lot of effort. That the effort is right there in the Eightfold Path. And it's like every moment there's an unwholesome energy, we get to call in the energy to note it and then to abandon it. And then to sustain our focus on self-determination. And then in that context, understanding that doubt never has anything good to say about this effort. That it is the undercurrent that eats away the bank at the water's edge of our capacity to find refuge. So, acknowledging the changes, acknowledging whether we like them or whether we don't like them, acknowledging what the emotions are, being present for that, caring for that. That's self-determination. holding that and continuing to make the effort to sustain that. That's self-determination. So let's then move into our practice. We've been practicing listening, so now let's move into the practice of bringing awareness, energy, and respect and caring to this moment. And finding a comfortable position for yourself. Maybe we can begin together by knowing our posture, whatever that is. Lying down, sitting, standing. And offering our path, our intention. Our intention is our path. Offering our intention in this moment. Not doesn't have to be grandiose. And then we know we're offering our path to ourselves, an intention, a self-determination. See if you appreciate that. Appreciate everyone joining us in that. We're not alone. There might be a way to relax a little bit more. Scanning the body, checking in if there's some place unconsciously resisting. And just know that. Greeting it. Hi. I don't have to react. Fix it. Know it. Offer a field of presence and caring for it. Maybe we could begin for another few minutes together in acknowledging our knees. Whether they bending and that stretching experience, or whether the knees are straight and we can feel the support underneath them, that touch. Acknowledging our here and now experience. And the choice we want to make. Maybe acknowledging the feet, just giving a context to ourselves. Where are our feet? Oh, that pressure there. I'm not bobbing around, but sustaining, caring, listening to the life of feet. Pressure, coolness, warmth, stretching, vibration, tingling. Notice if it's neutral, pleasant or unpleasant. And our relationship to it. What's in the mind right now? Knowing that. The different fields to know. And then relaxing. Inviting that. And see what it is you need to stay open to what's arising, sound, the fan, sunshine, a fly buzzing. Sensations. Or if you would like to take a narrower focus, self-determining what supports your well-being and practice. knowing the experience without doubt. Or knowing doubt. Knowing the experience with caring or without caring. See if you can know your knowing of knowing has wandered off. Building a moment-to-moment freedom from reactivity.